Hello, everyone listening on Spotify, watching on YouTube. It's another episode of NRG Insights. We're in our lender series at the moment, so we're very privileged to get a lot of decent lenders on at the moment, a lot of people, a lot of representatives to talk about them, their experience, and obviously their people that they work for as well. So today I've got Roger Morris from Tandem Bank. Hi, Roger.
Hi. Good morning, good afternoon to everyone listening in, whatever time of day you actually listen to
Yeah,
this.
they never know when this is recorded, so it's fine. You can just say, hello. Thanks very much for joining me. I'm very surprised. I said this before. I'm very surprised that we haven't met more. We've been at the same things, haven't we? We've never really chewed the cud, so it's a good opportunity to have those conversations with you. So.
No, it's funny, isn't it, how you're aware of each other, but you never had that chance to have a talk now. Maybe that was destiny. We'll have to see.
But you know what? I walked past you at a party recently and I said hello, and you said hello back, and I thought, I don't think that fella knows me, and I don't think we've really spoken. But because I see you all the time, it's interesting, isn't it?
And vice versa. And sometimes it's only afterwards you think, oh, God, it was Marcus I needed to speak.
Yeah. Plus, I look like every other bold bloke going around. So people go, I met you.
Hollywood celebs, and it's like a younger version of Bruce Willis many years ago.
Oh, he was bold, yeah. I get any bold person I get. I appreciate it. So let's kick in. Talk to me about your journey into financial services. Obviously, you've been doing it a fair amount of time, and how we've got to where we are now with you at Tandem Bank.
So my journey started in the northeast of England, specifically in Newcastle, about 1993. What had happened, Marcus, was I've been buying property since the age of 18, and I was just coming back off a holiday, and I wanted to go straight back on one. And at the time, there was a 6% cashback available on a remortgage, and I thought, great, if I could do a remortgage, get 6% cashback, I'm back on that plane. That was the mentality, and that was my mindset and my attitude to sort of remortgaging then. So I phoned up my next door neighbour who'd just done this cashback remortgage, and I was literally waiting for my bags to come off the carousel at Newcastle Airport. And I said, can you get your Peter, this mortgage expert, round to my house in 2 hours' time? That's how excited I was. Anyway, I'm not sure it's a Sunday, Rog. Anyway, funny enough, he turned up 2.5 hours later at my house. And because we weren't long after that 1990 sort of price crash where interest rates were about 15%, house prices hadn't really moved then. And for whatever reason, I didn't have the 10% equity in the property. So he couldn't do me that remortgage. And he sat there and he looked at me and he said, but Rog, have you thought about selling mortgages yourself? And I laughed. I said, me selling mortgages? And Marcus, at the time I was a fireman. I used to work on building sites. I worked in farming. I did all sorts of manual jobs because I am the least academically qualified person you'll ever meet. I left school with no qualifications, right? Always told I was a failure. Good at maths, so I could always work out money. If someone was shortchanged me, Marcus, I could work that. And I remember sitting there and I laughed thinking, I can't do mortgages. And he said, Rog, literally 3 weeks ago, I was a long distance lorry driver. And that made me think, wow, you were a lorry driver 3 weeks ago and you come across so well.
Yeah.
So I thought about it and I said, do you know what? I'd like to have a go for this. So he said, right, I'll set an interview for you tomorrow. And I remember coming out that meeting and telling my wife at the time and my family I was going to go and be interviewed to become a mortgage advisor. And everyone laughed and said, Rog, you'll never, ever, ever do that. So I went for the interview. I gave it my best shot. And even though the guy in charge didn't really want to take a chance because I wasn't full time, but I said, as a fireman, you can be because you're with new customers all the time, policemen, ambulancemen, firemen. I could still have me 4 days off. So I was told, right, go on, we'll give you a go. So I did the full 2-day induction course, Marcus.
Massive, that's
It was huge. So I was showing how to fill out a mortgage application, how to calculate the discounts, and then I was going to be given a client bank. So that 2 days, it was basically at the time you were either getting a 3% discount for 2 years or a 6% cashback. That was really the two deals that we promoted. And it literally, the average mortgage was roughly about the same wherever you went in Newcastle. So it wasn't that hard to get a rough bit. And you only had to work it out on a calculator.
Did they shadow you and that kind of thing, or did you literally do 2 days and go, right, there you go, these are the mortgages you do?
Absolutely.
Really?
No shadowing, no support. And you were told you're going to get this client bank, right?
Yeah.
And for the younger members who are listening in, which I'm sure there's lots, we might just have to try and explain this. You were given a BT phone book. At the time, they're about 1 inch, 2 inches thick, and it had every named person who had a house telephone in, say, the area of Newcastle.
Yeah.
So what that meant you had to do, Marcus, was you had to cold call, and there was no regulations on there. Hi, my name's Roger. Have you got a mortgage? Because if you have, I could potentially save you. And you could kind of guesstimate. It might have been, I don't know, £200 a month or something.
Yeah.
What the figure was. But enough to hook them. But I worked on you built your patter, and eventually I got my first bite, and I went round. And I remember my first ever sign up. And I have a little bit of dyslexia, Marcus, and the first sign-up was, the lady was called Anne Mullins, and it was an Anne spelt with an E. I remember sitting there going, Anne spelt with an E, how do you spell that? That was my biggest challenge. Anyway, she gave me a mortgage statement, the Building Society statement, and I realised at that point that all the information I needed was really on the mortgage statement. And suddenly I went from strength to strength because having a cold call was such a horrendous, depressing.
Do you not think, though, cold callings are really good? Because I've done cold calling in the past and I hate it now and I wouldn't do it. I don't even ask people to do it who work with me. Do you not think it's a good standing, though, for like just being told to go away or have a bit of resilience? Because I think, especially with the younger generation, we tend to not really like the kickback anymore, you know, not used to being told no.
I couldn't agree more because I can still see how I developed. If you what cold calling made you work was the best representation of yourself. So I would put a suit on, even always working from home. I'd stand in front of the mirror. I would always do it stood up. I knew what the best times to ring. And when to ring, and I used to spend many hours doing that. But what I realised, Marcus, was if I said to you, right, I am going to save you X amount of pounds, when I complete this mortgage and I do everything that I've told I'm going to do, would you do one thing for me and would you refer me just to 3 of your friends? So could we then, on the telephone, ring up, speak to them, hand them to me, and I've got 3 referrals. And the moment I did that, I could virtually throw away my client bank and I just did referrals. And at the time, Marcus, and this again just shows how much the world's changed. I used to specialise in road traffic accidents. And if you were involved in a really bad car crash in Teesside, there's a good chance if I was on duty, it would be me under the covers with you, just keeping you calm while we dismantle the car.
Don't tell me you sold them a mortgage while you were keeping them calm.
So one of the key things at the time then that the paramedics had taught me and the doctors was, Rog, keep talking about something that makes them think. So I said to the doctors, what happens if I talk to them about the mortgage? Oh, brilliant. So I was told by my gaffers and the paramedics and the doctors to talk to people. So if you're in a car, you're bleeding, you're in a lot of pain, you're going to have to go to hospital and you're really stressed, and I look you deep in the eyes, I've got hold of your hand and I say, Marcus, I need to ask you a very serious question. And the moment you said, have you got a mortgage, they'd laugh. And that used to help them with pain relief. And I used to say, if I get you out this car and I save your life, will you promise to come to the fire station and do a remortgage with me?
I'm not sure. I think that class is a vulnerable client.
Well, anyway, I don't do that anymore. So life progressed. I set up a mortgage packager in Teesside in 1996. And then all the subprime banks came over, CMC, Ocwen, iGroup, GMAC, Platform, the Money Store, Southern Pacific, Morgan Stanley, Merrill Lynch. And I created then what was one of the biggest specialist subprime packages in the country. I had about 160 60 people work for me, and I was doing about 110 million subprime mortgages a month. So I was the biggest with GMAC and Mortgages PLC. And I was offered to sell the business in the March of 2007 for a substantial, but I knew better. I had an instinct that September 2007 will be monumental. So I made the decision not to accept the selling to sell to this American bank.
Yeah.
And I put it off. And then I remember being in America in August 2007 when the subprime crash came, and I realised I'd missed the biggest chance of my life. Obviously, until now, coming on here.
Yeah. All comes
then,
around, doesn't it? It's all a cycle, isn't it? Eventually, and then you're on this podcast and you're winning again.
Absolutely. So what happened, Marcus, was I realised then I had to lay off all the staff, and during that next 12 months, and in fact, I made everyone redundant. And then we went insolvent, and we were just a catastrophe.
I know we joke about those things, but like the timing of business is unreal, right? I know people who sold their businesses. Funny enough, subprime mortgage sold it early 2007. Funny enough, a lot of those guys lost it again. You know, easily enough. It was a good market, but God, it's incredible to think like the sliding door effect. You know. How it went in a few months. I don't want to dwell on it, mate, because I know you've lost.
No, it is. But would I go back and change what I did? The answer's no, because life isn't just about monetary wealth. It should be measured in happiness.
Yeah.
And I'm a happier version of myself now because I didn't do that.
It's interesting, isn't it?
Yeah, and what I would say is the amount of people I owed money to for proc fees because the business literally just went.
Yeah.
The amount of people who emailed me, rang me, text me, asking if I needed any money off them, not the other way around. That's short at that time, and I still would never forget.
It's interesting, actually, because you see a few at the moment that's happened to gone pop, and obviously, I think the difference is social media now, though, right? That you can really have a dig at someone. Oh, this wasn't done properly. This wasn't done properly. Actually, it's a horrible experience for anyone. It must be horrific for you if that's your business all the time. But everyone knows how to run someone else's business, don't they? Everyone's an expert in being able to run someone else's.
Yeah, and I think, listen, I think social media now, threads can pick up and get momentum. I think because it was a worldwide known catastrophe, everybody kind of realised it wasn't me doing any misdoing. Yeah. And I always promised never to come back in that industry as a packager because I felt that would have been disingenuous. But literally, after taking no salary for about 18 months, I had to then work out what to do.
Yeah.
And literally, as the company was being wound up on the 5th of November 2008, I was offered by the solicitors who were helping me go insolvent, had also set up their bridging firm, Affirmative, and they offered me to become a BDM for them, and having to go around the northeast of England in sort of November 2008 selling bridging loans. Marcus, you could book in 20 appointments that week and literally 17 would cancel because they'd gone out of business. They'd literally gone Roger.
Interesting enough, Roger, I say this about this, but if people, and I know this still sounds like an old man conversation, but people likened what we've been through recently to 2008. And I said, if you genuinely think that, you weren't there. Because there was no money, was there? It was just, there's people going under left, right and centre. And it wasn't like now when money was harder to get or the banks didn't have an appetite. There was no money. It was just a shit time to be anywhere near financial services or anywhere, really. Everyone was affected. But
it was literally, and I knew a lot of people who had earned lots of money, Marcus, and literally they couldn't cope, you know. That literally they poured themselves into alcohol, depression, marriages broke up. It was a horrendous time because we'd gone from boom, literally, to gone. You know, the American banks had literally just pulled out. Well, I'm trying to do bridging lending in the northeast of England, and I realised then that I needed to try and get as many brokers, so I started doing webinars and face-to-face events and stuff. And I was quite successful in getting Affirmative further on their journey with Eugene and Gary. And then it was in 2010, Alan Cleary came to me to ask me to become sales director for Precise Mortgages and set up their bridging, their buy-to-let, their resi. And literally there was only a handful of us that launched that business then. And I remember me and Alan went round the country on an old London double desk bus right the way around the UK, started off in Glasgow. And what I took with me, at the time we had no real criteria. The rates were so expensive that the criteria was rubbish. We had a Yellow Pages. Now, do you remember the Yellow Pages?
Yeah, I do, yeah. Not that young.
Phone book. And I remember stood up with that saying, guys, what my only real sell on this whole trip was, get your Yellow Pages and ring every mortgage broker in there. And when they answer and say, oh, listen, just letting you know, we've stopped selling mortgages, actually ask that mortgage broker to say, every time someone phones up for a mortgage, could you refer them in to me and I'll give you a proc fee?
Yeah.
So in other words, the ones that wanted to stay in the fight could get the ones that had gone out of business referring business back in.
Yeah, makes sense.
And so we went on that journey, and then Precise Mortgages just grew from strength to strength. But it was a real tough journey in 2011, 12, 13, 14. It wasn't until about
so long to come out of it. Do you know what? And I have the podcast. Obviously, this comes up a lot in the podcast, depending on the age of the people, obviously. But it comes up a lot, and it like you kind of reminisce about it. It doesn't seem as bad now when you look back. I liken it to giving birth. I've never given birth, but you know what I mean. Like you wouldn't do it again if the pain was still the same. But it was horrific when you talk about 2009, 2010, 2011, getting out of it, 2012. Like it took a long time, didn't it, for the market to pop back up again.
It was, and then I think if there was one key point that accelerated Precise was George Osborne's announcement of interest relief removal for buy-to-let landlords. So then I become really excited because I thought, right, we've got to go into limited companies and let's get out there and educate an industry.
Yeah.
So it was, I think, again, that was a negative, Marcus, that we took as a positive. I think Precise from that point really exploded with the buy-to-let, and then we floated on the stock exchange around the 2017 mark. And then we did very well with that whole process. And then
what was that like from that? Was it 2010, 2017? What was it like to be on that journey, to help build that business? Was it exciting all the time? Was it just quite? You constantly growing, right? Precise was just kept growing and growing and growing. There's no sort of steady point.
Well, what was the hardest bit was each year you only had so much money to lend. So the first year we only had 50 million. And when it was gone, we didn't know where the next money was coming from. But my CEO was just like, Rog, you do the selling, we'll find the money, we'll go off and we'll get you the cash. Yeah. And it was then that we had the likes of Metro and what was or is now One Savings Bank came in and give us regional funding. Yeah. And it was really you had to take each month, each quarter, each year as to what you could do. But standing at the London Stock Exchange and being part of that journey was something special. And obviously I benefited, not like the senior directors, but I did really well out of that. It was a chance to rebuild again. And then we had the merger with OSB. So they came in, and what that then was a point of, over a period of time, they wanted your senior management, like two becomes one, and then you come to the end of that journey. Yeah. But it's like any journey, you don't want to stay with one place too long. And I suddenly realised in the July of, not last year, the year before, 2022, that my journey was at an end. I remember sitting down with Alan Cleary and going, I'm ready for a new challenge. Alan had retired then, and it was then I thought, right, I'm going to go off. I'll take the sort of the balls, the guts just to resign.
It does take a lot as well, doesn't it? Because you've been there. I love that, by the way, because you can sit comfortably in a role where you're not growing anymore, right? You can get to a time in your career when you go, I could sit here forever until I retired. But actually, if you've still got a bit about you, or you still want to make some changes and make an influence on something, I think that's really important to go, do you know what? I'm gonna do it again. I can do it for someone else. I think that's a good job.
Marcus, I love that enthusiasm. So think of this. I come to you for this advice in July 2022 and say, right, Marcus, look, OSB really want their own management team in. It's kind of like...
That happens, doesn't it? When you merge, there's two of everything, so yeah.
Kind of like, you need to go now, right? The market's buzzing. So I tell you what, I said to you, say, Marcus, what do you think? You think I should resign and take a chance? I'll put myself on LinkedIn. And you go, Rog, what have you got to lose? Because the market was booming then.
Yeah.
So it takes a couple of weeks to get organised. So roughly it was about the 1st of September. I had a picture of me waving goodbye outside of OSB. And then at the same time, Liz Truss decides to blow up the economy. And it's suddenly what became from you, when you were saying to me, Rog, you've got to do it. September's the best time. It was horrendous. But
I imagine. Do you know what? Timing's not been on. Considering how successful you've been, you've had some shit timings with some.
Yeah. Marcus, it was. But what saved me was LinkedIn.
Yeah.
And I was lucky enough, that went viral. I think I got about 190,000 views. But what that did was emphasise to 6 CEOs that I was worth looking at.
Yeah.
And I had some magical conversations about what to do. Some magical conversations. It wouldn't be fair to sort of share the 5 that I didn't go with because they all know the reasons. But I'd been on a green journey with OSB. Sort of John Hall had really got me working on the whole green bit, and I've become, with doing what I was doing with my buy-to-lets, that become really good. And then Alex Moller, out of the blue from Tandem, who I'd never heard of, I knew Alex from old, said, just give me 15 minutes. And I thought, I'll speak to him because you've got to know where you don't want to go to know where you want to go. And within 15 minutes of speaking to Alex was just like, I've got to go here. And it wasn't about the money, it was about the culture, and it was about the person. And then, more importantly, the person I was going to report to was a guy called Steve Baird. And I'd still say today, and sorry, Alan, he's the nicest, kindest, most supportive person I've ever worked for. So to manage me can be a bit of a nightmare. I'm extremely passionate. I run at 1 million miles an hour. I'd still say he's helped me become the best version of me today. So that's roughly where we are. And then obviously I joined Tandem in the 1st of December 2022, and my job then was to secure all UK distribution, and I think I did that faster than anyone's ever done it for a UK specialist bank. I think within 3 months we'd got either the acknowledgement, the indication that we will get the over the line, and then establish the brand in that wider UK mortgage space without any real money to spend with the trade press. So that's roughly
up to now.
That's roughly the journey I've been.
Let's touch on one of those points then, because you said it's the culture and the person, right? I think that's really important for people to think about, because obviously coming from recruitment, most people talk about money, and we try and get that out of them, and then they'll stay with someone because they offer them a few more quid, and they don't actually like the culture, or they don't like the people they're working for. How important is that when you're building a business, culture-wise, and getting the right people at the top? Obviously, it's made massive difference to you. You picked that one over others. So, how important is that for people to think about when it comes to building a culture, and what does that look like?
I think building a culture starts from the very top. Is the person at the very top fundamentally a nice person? We all have responsibility, and we all, we all got our constraints. But if you bully people, if you're aggressive, if you disrespect people, have weekends, if you understand that people have shit goes on in their life, you need to be able to understand how to bring the best out in people, and you need that diversity and that inclusion. But that's got to come from here. It isn't words, it's not buzz, and people can sense check that. And what I would say to you is, if somebody offered you 50 grand a year more, so that's 25 grand net, that's maybe a couple of grand a month, that could change your life. But will it change your life for the good things or the bad things? Because if every day you wake up full of dread, and every day you go to sleep full of dread, and you are becoming a more toxic person, your wife, your kids notice the sharpness, the aggression, is it worth, are you better off stepping back and waiting for that next opportunity? Because the culture at Tandem is amazing. Yeah, we all get challenges with individuals every now and again where someone annoys you, but you'll always have that. It's like that with your wife or your kids. You'll always get that annoyance.
Not my wife. She's absolutely perfect. She's in the room next door. Go on, carry on, mate.
That's you got to say that. You got to say that, and I think so. Culture and how to develop culture is something I've always done. You know, we had a group of salespeople in 2017. I still think it was the best specialist sales team in the market. People like Rory Cleary, Jamie Pritchard, Sandeep Patel, Gareth Lewis. These people have gone on to become.
Do you know what? I think 3 or 4 of those are now coming on the podcast as either, well, all very high up in where they are now. So that shows that the quality of that sales team. I always think that it's a little bit like Alexander Hall in the 2010s. If you look now, how many business owners in the city came from that mortgage brokerage. You've got sales teams that created leaders, right? You must have had that. So you see how successful those people are now. That's an incredible.
But how do you do that? And what I did was, like Gareth Lewis, I was so pleased when Gareth left Precise because he needed to be his absolute best he could be. And you've seen that now. The moment he went to MT, every time I see him or hear him, the sense of pride you get is incredible. Jamie Pritchard, in what he's done with Glenhawk, has just been breathtaking.
Do you know what that guy was come on? We recorded with a guy last week, and he was saying the same thing. Bringing someone on like Jamie is incredible for the business, just on the sales side of the flow, the direction that he has. But it is very good that you all work together. It's interesting. It's that you all came from one team.
I think it's just I was just lucky enough to have the freedom to find talent and
is that
not
luck, though? Is it luck? Because I speak to some fantastic teams, and there's some really bang average ones, and they aren't going anywhere. It can't be. There's a secret sauce to getting great people together, and it can't just be, we were really lucky with the CVs, because it's not.
No, it's not. It's not. I mean, if you didn't make the grade with me, you didn't stay. As much as I'm a fundamentally nice person, I'll only work with the best, and it'll just be the fact that, like, I will always explain that in the beginning is, you give me your all, and I'll push you as far as I know it and push you. And there'll be some people saying, Rod, you want to move on to the next level? You haven't got it in you. You're great at where you are, but you're not that next level up, or you're not ready for it yet. We need to do it. Do you
find that quite easy, like the honesty of that? Do you know something I struggle with as a manager is that it's not putting someone down. It's just being realistic to say you're not there yet, or you're not going to be there. Like, that's a horrible conversation to have. Does that come relative? Or does it come relatively easy? Or is this something you've got to work on as a leader?
No, it is. When I first meet you and I first interview you, I will look you in the eyes and say, are you wanting an absolutely brutal, honest relationship? I will look at you, I will strip you down to the most basic elements, and I'll reconstruct you into the best version you want to be. And as Jamie Pritchard, I first said to him, because he wanted to make as much money as possible, what are you prepared to give up? Because you can't be spending loads of time with the kids and be at home every night. What is your desire? Particularly pre-COVID, where you had to be around the country doing everything. It was the same with Sandeep Patel when you left to go to Together before going to UTB. It's about knowing when a person has come to the end of the journey with you. So I'll say to you, Marcus, if you give me the next 2 years, like, I know really you should be going now, but I'd like to get the best of your last 2 years with me. And what I'd say, right, I will develop you to do these things, so then you will go on and you'll move to the next level. And I think it's very similar to what, I'd hate to use football terms, but like how Fergie got that academy. You're selective, but you've got to be brutal. And I will tell anyone the truth. As long as it's the truth and it's done for the genuine reason of the individual, then I don't see anything wrong with it. Even in today's HR world, you can demonstrate and go, this is your failings, or this is your positives. And we've let people go at Tandem. We used to let people go at Precise. But 9 times out of 10, you can spot that person. But you just have to front people up sometimes. And I don't have a problem in that side of me going, you fail because of these reasons.
And do you find sometimes people find it a bit of a relief when you tell them, when you're brutally honest, like, good, I'm not ready, or this isn't right for you. Well, I'm very lucky that I've only had to make a couple of people, or get rid of a couple of people in our time. And you can see the kind of sense of relief on their face, because nobody wants to be failing, right? Nobody wants to not be the best at their job. Everyone does it for a good reason. So there is a sense of people knowing. I'm very shocked if people don't know that it's coming, or they don't know that they're not ready.
It's very hard to refuse the truth because you know your own truth. But I've moved people from one position to a totally different position, and I've just told them, try it for 3 months, and if you don't like it, I'll put you back. And you put them in, say, marketing, or you put them in ops, or you get them to do something. It's like presenting. You can teach people to be brilliant presenters, but it's got to be, the instinct's got to be in the heart. Not everybody can. Not everybody understands what's needed. There's different types of salespeople, ops people. Everyone has a different skill. But I can't ever imagine, I doubt I'll ever imagine working with such a gifted team. That may happen in a few years' time with Tandem, where you're given the money for that growth, and then you might be able. But I never go back. You should never go back.
I was going to say that you'll never know, will you, until you can look back, because you wouldn't have known where Gareth and Sundeep and Jamie, all those guys are going to be now. So at the time, you know you've got something special, but it's not. It's a bit like the United thing, right? You don't know until a bit later on when you go, blimey, that thing that we built was impressive, because you don't know.
Yeah. But what's important, people always say when I started Tandem, I'll bring with me my previous people.
Yeah.
Never do that. Always start fresh again and go to new talent, new people, and try a new formation. So the team.
It's a little bit of a tried and tested, though. You know, like, because someone's paying you, and you want to make sure that you know that guy can do the job, but you just don't think, just avoid it.
The world's changed from that, say, 2017 to 2024. It's a new world. It's post COVID. It's more digital. Social media's changed. You've got to think differently. So if you're thinking, I'm just going to take what I had before and restructure, and then you've had the best years out of those people, they now need to step into their own world. I would rather go and find young talent and make that talent the next chapter.
I suppose as well, and if one of your skill sets is obviously nurturing that talent into being great, it doesn't make sense to bring back the old people, does it? Because that's kind of taken away your skill set that's made it good in the first place.
And you want new experiences yourself, Marcus. It's just, life is constantly evolving.
And also, you don't want to pay their bloody great big salaries they're on now.
That's the point. Couldn't afford to do it.
I know you just talked about the change in like the financial services journey and social media and stuff. Let's kind of touch on that. And you obviously have embraced it, and with the greatest respect, a lot of people of similar experience can't get their head around how important it is to change. How important has it been for you, when you move jobs it's important, we've already touched on that, but how important is it for you to kind of embrace the social media, embrace the way things are changing, and kind of look at things with new eyes all the time?
I have to admit, when I look at social media, Twitter and LinkedIn, and I use both, more LinkedIn than Twitter now. It was Alan Cleary who told me I had to start doing social media about 2014 time, I think it was. I hadn't done it before. Yeah. And to do it, to build up LinkedIn and Twitter, took 3 hours a day, 7 days a week for about 5 years, because you've got to constantly build your network. You send out a post and you get one person to like it. And then you've got to be coming to tune. What is it that people want? You know, there's people on LinkedIn who will share a lot of personal stuff, the pictures of the kids or just out and about. Though a lot of people, there'll be those on LinkedIn, the hardliners, which should just be for work. I've always kept it just for work because I never share things personal. And I don't care how people want to use the challenge. That's up to them. But for work, it's constantly evolving, and you've got to try things. If you do a post with just the marketing behind me now I've got Tandem's logos, that doesn't work. It doesn't work if you're serious or you're corporate. What people want to see is you're having fun, loving what you do, and just being out there. And I think what really changed for me in the progression is the short videos. So if I'm out and I saw you now, and I literally say, I'm with Marcus today, Marcus, what do you think of 2024? And you do 2 minutes, what you're saying, that's really working for me now. But I think it's just people get to know you. I've been lucky enough to done all my educational workshops over the years, so I have a lot of people I've met. And I think if they've met you and you've given something to them, like particularly how to build a buy-to-let portfolio, the amount of people will see me and go, Rog, I came on one of your courses, I did what they said, I've now got 20 houses, thank you very much. So that social media and that LinkedIn was imperative, but if I didn't have it, I don't think I'd have a job right now.
Yeah, I know, you're right. If you're connected to that many people. Do you know what? Talking about that post, right? It came out, and I can't remember who said to me, someone said, you need to connect to Roger because he's looking. And I said, there is absolutely 99.9% of people need to help with recruitment. I said, I saw the post and how it went viral and how many comments and stuff like that. I said, Roger won't need any help from a recruiter. I said, there is clearly, that went to the right people, right? You had that, and that is praise to you for the network that you've built up. You know, that's the benefit. Like you say, there would have been a complete sliding doors again if you hadn't done social media when they told you to. We have it, even with different generation. People actually understanding the importance of it is incredible. Like, we built our business on it. 90% of our business comes through people watching this or seeing us on LinkedIn or any way we can add value. We don't cold call anymore. So it's really important that we all kind of have to embrace it.
But if you think about the quality of people you find for firms, right, that's not easy because I know lots of people who've, and I definitely would use your services in the future. It was different before. There was a historical arrangement way back when I joined Precise with Pete Gwillam, who recruited me, and Alan was going, look, this is who we're going to use. But if you want to build culture and you want to mitigate the amount of time for interviews and you want the right people, Marcus, what's your top tips in people listening to this who are going, I'd like to move, I want to progress. How do I become valuable and attractive to Marcus for Marcus to recommend me in when you get opportunities for recruitment? What would you say?
What, as in how would someone, the majority of people I find, like, it is social media. There's people getting in front of you. You know people, it's like us, like I've known of you, I know of lots of good mortgage brokers. If they've got that great connection, it makes it so much easier. Otherwise, it's just a bit of paper, right? I can sell someone in brilliantly. I can do that. We do behavioural testing and video interviewing, so it's easy for the client. But for someone to get in front of us, which is important because of our network, I think you have to be busy on social media. You have to get out there. You have to let people know who you are. I say to brokers and lenders alike, whether you're working for either, it's absolutely pointless being the best kept secret in the industry. It gets you nowhere.
And the amount of people, Marcus, who go to me, I'm very unhappy with my job, I want to find a new job, or I think I'm going to be made redundant because that particular business is struggling. And I said to them, get on LinkedIn, just start becoming more active. And then 3 months, 6 months down the line, they still haven't done it because they can't be bothered or...
I mean, the benefit of coming to Recruiter is that we're doing that legwork for you, right? We've got those connections. But at the same time, to get in front of people, you just separate yourself from the crowd. That's the main thing. Just showing that you know what you're talking about, and like I said, not being the best kept secret. But that's not just recruitment. That's not just our business. It's any business, right? It's just separating yourself by being in front of everyone. Also, it's a touch point for everyone. You have to. If I stop doing this, and as much as I believe I'm valued in the industry, people forget about me in a minute. Like anyone, you know, like same as if you BDM's on the phone. People will forget about you in a minute. So you can't just rely on your laurels and go, well, because I'm good at my job. Like, it's so much more nuanced than that.
So what would you, I do totally agree with that, literally your next stage use. So I'm listening to this podcast now. People have heard my story, and you want to progress. You want to move further up, whether you're going to come into a brokerage or you're going to be working for a lender. How do I impress you, and what do I do? What can you do for somebody younger to help, like, nurture them into the right
well, we can educate people, I think, is the main thing. I've been around long enough to know what works and what doesn't. So if you're not ready yet, we can tell you how long it's, or we can tell you how to be ready. I think that's really important. the majority of things is picking up the phone and having a conversation as well. You'll be surprised how many people want to talk about jobs on emails and stuff, and we won't do it.
Yeah.
I think it's crazy that people want to discuss something that's going to make a difference to the rest of their life on an email.
Yeah.
Blows my mind. Pick up the phone, get on with us and speak, and then I'll pick up the phone and speak to my clients. It's that simple. Like I've never been one of those CV senders hoping for the best nonsense. It just doesn't work. You've got to explain it. They've got to show. It's just a bit about you as well, isn't it? You know, I speak to people all the time. Go, can you email me that job spec? I go, absolutely not. There's nothing on there that you haven't already spoke about. What do we need? We can have a conversation about it. But yeah, that's another one of my bugbears. But
it shows a lot about the person. I'm exactly like you. I wouldn't prepare for an interview, but the bit is what I'm saying is to me, I want to feel that person on the phone, the passion, the knowledge. You can miss it in an email. So if I'm a younger person now who wants to progress my career, of listening to this podcast today, is to ring you and the team
100%.
at HQ and then try and say, right, this is me, this is what I want to do, this is what I have to offer, what can you do? And you will either give me some coaching points or help me progress.
I love coaching. I've got a client at the moment who came into my office, I don't know how many years ago now, and he said, I want to be a mortgage broker. And like most of those guys, you kind of half take them, loads of people say it, right, and then no action. I said, go and get your CMAPs, come back to me, I'll get you a job. Came back a few months later, there's my CMAP, you said you get me a job. I was like, shit, I better get you a job now because I've said it. Anyway, he owns his own business now, he's a client, it's incredible, but they're the guys that I love, right? That was what, 10, maybe 12 years ago. But to get someone through that career, that's amazing. Now, you're not earning off them every second of it, you know. I don't think that's why people leave this industry. I think because people don't realise that it's about building relationships through the time. But for me, there's nothing better to watch someone go from passing their CMAP to set up a business to employing people, and hopefully the guys that work for them will grow and set up their businesses. You know, the amount you're adding to the industry is massive.
Yeah,
and we get paid for it. You know, so it's a double win.
No, but I totally agree, because when I had my own brokerage, Marcus, trying to find good people who met those qualities, sometimes people who were good mortgage advisors, is a skill set and an understanding that if you're really busy, you haven't got time to source, find, and cut out the chaff. What you're able to do is just to say, Rog, this is the person for you. You only need one, don't need two.
Well, that's the idea, isn't it? You just can do one good person, and that again. We said about it doesn't really come across in an email. It's much the same as a CV. The reason, I give away all of our secret sauce, but people should be doing it anyway, but we video interview everyone. And the reason for that is CVs are shit, right? They're just paper. It's just where you've worked. It doesn't mean anything. But you can get so much more across on that. We behaviour test people so we can see how deeply driven they are, rather than saying, are you driven? I've never had anyone say no, right? It's a stupid question. I don't know why we ask it in interviews. You know. But you've got to get it out of people, and I think that's just that adding value that makes a difference. Because that chucking CV time is over. We're all looking at each other on social media. We're still using a bit of paper to try and get a job.
It's so that is I do love that, because it's, to me, it's you see that dazzle in their eyes, that passion, and then when you ask them a question that you want to see a specific reaction on the face, that really shows that they care about something. They're not just playing that corporate bit which they could put in an email. But it's also looking at, you know, if you're a business principal out there and you're listening to this podcast today and you're thinking to yourself, I'm ready to kick on now, I've got this big client bank, I've lost John and Mabel last year, just didn't have it in them, they couldn't react to that tougher environment of contacting the customers and asking for referrals. By assume coming to you, you can help find the right team to grow their business.
And that is that journey as well, I think, for people. That's the same journey. Not everyone goes on it, so people skip steps of it, but you're working on your own, you build up a big client bank, that's it. You're at capacity, you need to bring on the next one. It might be your mate, you know, you might do cheap recruitment first. Eventually people come to us. You know, it's just that journey. I think you've got to be patient with people, because it seems like a lot at the beginning.
Yeah, no, hang on. Yeah, there's a point I want to challenge you on there. This is a person who employed 163 people. When you say cheap recruitment, I remember when I was building my business, if I could get someone without paying a recruitment fee, a friend of a friend, what's to lose? Take a chance, here you go. what is the value of a recruitment?
I tell you, what's to lose is the cost of rehiring, the cost of retraining, having to end up paying a recruiter in the long run. The cost of retention or the cost of losing business in the UK is something like 10, 15 or 10, 12 times more than the cost of recruitment. But we're all so infatuated with this. We do charge a fee. So everyone's infatuated with this fee and they think, I saved that £6,000 by getting someone I'll find you someone that writes 200 grand a business and I'll charge you £6,000 for it. And you would rather take someone that writes 75 grand of the business and get it for free. That to me is bad maths. I don't know if I'm not particularly good at maths, but
I put this in football analogy, Marcus, right? All football clubs, all have scouts. They pay for scouts to go and spot talent, right? And the reason for that is if you are a professionally focused business, your skill set is not necessarily, and in most cases, is spotting talent, the right talent that you want, and you haven't got the time to do it. You're not paying for it. It's literally, it's a business cost. It's like you're going to pay the revenue. You got insurances, computers, offices.
Amen.
That you become a part of their team, and what you are is going to build them. And what you've got to think about isn't the money it costs for you to bring on that person. Think of the profits that person will make you.
I always say this about you never look at marketing as a cost, right? Because there's a return on investment. And why do we not do that with our people? Well, people is the most important thing. It's like beyond anything in business, your people are your number one thing. Yet you'll scrimp on that, but then you'll have KPMG doing your accounts. Like it doesn't make any sense to me. It's bizarre.
It doesn't. And what you see though is when you take on that person who's a friend of yours who's useless, and then you didn't have the front to be able to get rid of them early on, and then they become a HR nightmare and they take up so much of your valuable time, is the fact that you need to understand to grow your business, you're going to need someone like you that will keep you mentored. And also, when the person that you've recruited phones up and says, I want to leave, you will actually help retain them in the business as much as you will recruit. And I think people misunderestimate a good recruiter will help retain your client, your staff as much as find new ones.
You need to know the reasons, don't you, why people are leaving. If they're not happy and you're not happy, something's not right. You're not. Well, that's very rare. I think in 15 years we've given something like 4 rebates back because we're so thorough, and we're not chucking stuff at the wall, and hopefully they're not. If we get it wrong and the client gets it wrong, then either the person's a sociopath and the greater lion, or we've just cocked up, and it very, very, very rarely happens. Very
rarely. I totally agree with that, Marcus.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I know you like this if you flipped it on me now, so we're talking about my job, but we are going to flip back to you. So if you're speaking to brokers or anyone in the lending market at the moment, because I have kept you longer than I said I would. I said it would be half an hour. We're already on 45 minutes, but I could talk to you all day, genuinely. What advice could you give to people at the moment, navigating the new market, moving into 2024? I think it's some exciting times. I think we can all agree that it looks like it's going to be better, can't be worse. What advice can you give to people that are going out into the market now, or brokers that are perhaps looking to push on this year?
So I think the biggest thing, Marcus, is if you're an existing broker, is not to want to attract any new customers. I think what you've got to do is you've got to sell yourself some solid structure. First of all, either you, your team, or bring somebody young in to ring every customer on your database. So if you haven't got a database, set up one. So a lot of the older brokers still haven't done that. Your big set of filing cabinets behind. Get out every case you've ever done and ring up and speak to them and go, hiya Marcus, it's Roger, did a mortgage for you 20 years ago. I'm just starting to set up a regular newsletter. Can I have, what's your best email address and what's your best contact number? 1, you've made contact, and 2, you've now established a database. Secondly, with the way interest rates are moving up and down, customers want to hear from their trusted mortgage advisor at least once a month, and the best time for that is a Sunday morning at 10 o'clock, because you more likely read something about your personal finances on a Sunday morning at 10 o'clock, right? Because you wouldn't on a Monday morning, you wouldn't on a Friday night, you got the pub, it's a Sunday morning. Make sure also that you do as a mortgage advisor everything, which isn't just the mortgage. Make sure you do life and protection. And the younger ones in this industry who've never really experienced death don't understand that you're 100% likely to die at least once during your lifetime. So do that. And then I think the next bit would be is work out what your average income is per sale. So if I was coming out to sell to you tonight or to advise for you tonight, how many, I'll do a mortgage, but will I do life, critical illness, general insurance? How much do I earn off you as a customer? And if you can work out what your average income is, and then work out what you want to earn in a year. So if you want to earn 100 grand this year, and your average income per mortgage is 2 grand, right? What you then know is how many first appointments you need to do for second appointments to be able to make that money.
Yeah.
So you have it worked out mathematically. How many customers do I need to speak to every week? And
it's
then
interesting you say that, because you're using the data there to find it. I speak to so many people who we talk about average case values and how their protection penetration, and then they say I want to earn X amount, and you kind of don't want to point it out all the time, but you go, that doesn't add up. You're not going to get to where you are doing that amount of activity. I think it is really important that people understand that the profit is in the data, right? You've got to understand how many of something. I know how many phone calls I need to make. I know how many leads I need to come in, and the percentage that I convert at, and what that average value is to me. I know all of that because I'm a salesperson. It shocks me that people don't know.
And what's the best time to get active sales calls? Then what's the best time not to structure your day? So you know the best time you get older people like me or whoever. So you ring at those times, and you know the worst time not to get hold of me, and they're the times you make your emails and your housekeeping and everything else. So your day needs to be structured, and you need to be focused on the customers. And then also how you get them to give you referrals. I think that's a big one that young people in the industry, in 2020, 2021, 2022, the phones rang off the hook. People stopped saying, Marcus, I've done your mortgage, will you give me a referral, please?
I think that's the benefit of last year, right? If we can look at the positives of last year, sharpening your tools a bit, got rid of some of the deadwood, just be honest, got rid of people that weren't really interested in doing it, but got people selling protection again, got people asking referrals again, got people realising how can I squeeze everything out of every lead. So there is that positive. I hope we don't go back to transactional selling again because it gets easier. I hope that people kind of learn from it, but I have seen that in the past. If I'm honest, we all kind of, it gets easier and we all go back to the way we did it. But hopefully that is a positive, right? That we get to take from that.
But you just need, I think, to take away to give benefits to everything you do. What is your aspiration for your business? So if you're setting your business up and do you ultimately want to sell it? If you are ultimately going to sell your business, have you got tax advice to how best to sell the business, how to set the business up, how to structure it, and what your plan is? And as much as that might sound far-fetched as a young mortgage advisor or someone who's got a small business, but set it up for the structure of potentially selling it, what that would look like, and who in the business who do you need to bring into the business to be able to get that acceleration? And that's where you come in, because what are the key points you would need to bring in? Your Ronaldos, your Beckhams, your Messis, and you can find them, and they might seem like they cost you a lot of money, but what are the results they'll bring to your business? And that's where that business mentoring and planning, that you come in as a business partner to be able to really...
You know what? It's really interesting to say that you're obviously speaking my language, but because people will come to us and say, I want a mortgage advisor. We'll say, that's great, but where do you want to be in 5 years? And because they don't know whether they want self-employed, employed, they don't know the model, they want a hybrid or whatever it is. I said, well, let's go, where do you envisage the business? And also, when you walk into that business, what does it feel like? Because if it's just you being the king dick and you've got no one in the office, and then you can look at down this model. If you want it to be, you're the manager or you're the chairman, whatever it is, but don't just tell me you want a mortgage advisor. Tell me where you want your business. And if you want to sell in 7 years, like for instance, this is just an example, I know people can sell it, but if you want to sell in 7 years, don't go to a load of self-employed brokers, because they're the least sellable model. So it's pointless starting at this when you want something different. So you're absolutely right. I love that that's the key point, right? Is to start 5, 7 years, 10 years, wherever you want to be that exit. What's the exit look like, and then work our way down. That's where we can come in and go, right. So this is where we need to start then, because that gets you to there, because we've seen it.
So looking at who are the key. So you as a business principal, who's your team? You need an accountant. You're going to need somebody who is going to recruit and bring in your best personnel, which is what you are. Yeah. And then you go your other parts. If you can change your mindset to see you don't cost anything, you make money, right? You're a business expense. It's like doing a valuation. You've got to pay for it, but you get the mortgage off the back of it. So once you've changed your mindset in 2024, which is, why should I partner with Marcus? What will Marcus give me? And if your mindset is, Marcus is just going to cost me, don't even ring, just leave the phone. You want to say to Marcus, right, let's create a business relationship, and this is my end goal. I want to create this. How do we do it? Because you will not cost a penny. You will only make me money. And if your mindset that you are going to cost me money, then you need to change your mindset.
Yeah, and it's the same as not just even using recruiters. It's the same as employing someone. If you feel like I can't afford to employ them, and you can't change that as to what they're going to do for me when they join, then don't employ people. I beg people not to phone up, because if you're constantly thinking about someone's going to cost you money, it's a manifestation thing as well. I genuinely believe if you think it all the time, it happens. But taking on employees is not just to benefit you, it's to benefit them, it's to benefit the business. Once you can see the mutual beneficial partnership you have, then that's the gold. Because if you're saying, well, this is going to cost me this, you're in the wrong ballpark, you're in the wrong game.
And I think the thing is, though, Marcus, it's believing in yourself. I remember the day I left the fire brigade, I had 78 people. And the reason I left the fire brigade is the 78th person who was employed by me had said, I hear, just at the end of the interview, I hear you're still a fireman, Rog. Why aren't you full-time in this business? I had 78 people. And the reason being is I didn't really believe in myself that much. To make that full-time commitment. So you've got to fundamentally believe in you and believe in the best, and the best people out there you will not statistically ever find. It's not your skill set. You've got your skill set. That's why you need a Marcus. And the good thing is you're not a fixed cost. You've got to take that mindset away of it's a business essential. And if you look at it differently, then 2024 is the year where you need that partnership with you. That's how I look at it.
Amazing. Good. Honestly, I've never had anyone promote me so much. I should bring you on every week. Thank you, mate. So talk to us a little bit. Like I said, we've massively overrun, but I honestly could talk to you all day. Talk to me a little bit about Tandem at the moment, what your plans are for this year, what your kind of where you fit in the market for brokers that I don't know you perhaps.
So we launched 12 months ago into the UK distribution market. We secured about 96% of all distribution within the first 3 or 4 months, or the commitment to go through due dil. We've now established the brand initially out there. It takes years, Marcus, for everyone to actually remember. I remember with Precise, it took us 10 years. It'll still take us a few years to remember who we are. We're purely a residential lender, so we do first charge and second charge mortgages, and it's really for people who've had some financial challenges in their life. But what I'd like to say, the way we positioned is, we're not a digital solution. We're a very much bespoke. So yeah, we've got a front end electronic dip, but when it becomes to the mortgage app, it's a PDF. Right. Because our underwriters want to talk to the mortgage advisors. So most of the big banks now, your big specialist lenders, they just don't want to speak to mortgage advisors. They want it by an email. They don't want to speak. Our staff will pick up the phone, right, Marcus, you got this customer, they've got 3 lots of income, they've got this, they've got that. Let's make the case fit and see if we can get where we need to get.
How easy would underwriting be if you could just pick up the phone to the underwriter?
I just remember at my time at Precise, the underwriters would never speak. You'd have the call centre trying to pass the information through. The call centre guy just didn't understand what it was they were saying, so it was lost in translation. The broker would be frustrated. But when people phone up now and say, oh, can I speak to Kath? Yeah, who's calling? Marcus is, straight through. There's just no what do you want? What do you need? What do you want to talk about? So let me speak to the underwriter. So I think we're going to give digitalisation, the digital journey is not the answer to everyone. And if you've got specialist lending, complex need, vulnerable customers, and you're trying to make an unsure, because of consumer duty, that the case is right for you as a lender, then ring us, because we'll just speak to you. We don't need an email, and we'll tell you how we can help you. That's what I think we're about.
Amazing. Thank you very much. I appreciate your time, Roger. We're bang on an hour now as well. If anyone wants to get hold of you, obviously all of your contact details and everything will be on our socials. But if anyone wants to speak to you directly, what's the best way to speak to you? Or get in touch with you?
Yeah, you can just email me at roger.morris@tandem.co.uk or message me on LinkedIn. And by the way, guys, anybody listening into this, I have built many businesses. But when you've got the chance to work with someone like Marcus, don't miss it. So if you're thinking, I want to move to the next level and I really want to do something special in my life, then what's wrong in scheduling just a quick 20-minute exploratory call with Marcus and the team and trying to understand how you, with the right support, can be the best version of yourself?
Amazing. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Genuinely, that's lovely. Thank you to everyone listening. Thank you to everyone watching on YouTube and listening on Spotify. I will catch up with you soon, Roger. I appreciate your time.
Take care. Bye.